If you're a fan of Harry Potter, I bet you will love this anime. MASH is a young fitness enthusiast who conquers the world of magic using nothing but his muscles and brute strength. Consider him the New Age One Punch Man, if you will, a Hogwarts rebel. In a world filled with magic and powers, sorcerers and dragons, there was a single anomaly who spent his days working out in the forest, munching on scrumptious cream puffs. His caretaker, Regro Burndead, was an old man who was able to use magic freely. MASH's strength was a nuisance to deal with since he kept breaking objects and doors consistently. Despite all this, his father still loved him and warned him not to go to the city for his own safety. However, as soon as he left, MASH disobeyed his orders and went anyway in search of more cream puffs. His strength was so immense that he was easily breaking coins by gripping them. Things took an unexpected twist when the civilians saw that he had no mark on his face. This implied that he was a non-magic user, which was punishable by law. One of them called the police, and they came in a flash to arrest MASH. Thankfully, his father swept him away and ran as fast as he could. The officers sent a bird to scout their location and caught up to their house soon enough. While MASH was in the forest working out as usual, the officers were interrogating the old man quite roughly. MASH decided to eavesdrop and overheard how he wasn't able to use magic. Even so, he still cared for his father, even if he kept it a secret from him. It is revealed that the old man isn't actually his father. Rather, he was a failure of a magician growing up, and everyone used to scorn him all the time. One fateful night when he was about to commit suicide, he heard a little baby crying and decided to take him in and raise him as one of his own. By this time, MASH had heard enough and barged in with a flurry of punches to knock them down. The chief, Brad, tried throwing projectiles at him, but he kept swatting them away. He made a mockery out of his magic by playing around with him. Eventually, he broke his shield and defeated him in battle, forcing the chief to propose a deal. In return for keeping his identity a secret, MASH must go to the prestigious magical school and prove himself in front of everyone. If he can succeed in this endeavor, he can then share the prize and status with the chief and his family. MASH agrees to the conditions and heads over to prove his worth. The following day, all the applicants gather around to attend the examination. It is said that only 3% of applicants pass each year due to the difficulty of the assessment process. While everyone else seems to be focusing and preparing themselves, MASH is out here lifting weights like there was no gravity. His father and the chief also drew a line on his face to make it appear as if he used magic. It was finally time, and the announcer summoned the tables and tests to flex his magic. The test comprised of lining up the jumbled words using magic. However, MASH threatened it, and everything fell into place through his indomitable will. The examiner was left bombarded and tried his best to get MASH kicked out since he was incapable of using magic. However, every test he threw his way, MASH breezed past them without breaking a sweat and kept on eating his cream puffs nonchalantly. Out of desperation, the examiner summoned a maze in hopes of crushing MASH's spirit. Inside the maze, MASH was contacted by a girl who wanted to be friends with him. She kept on acting clumsy and helpless to try and distract MASH from his objective. She was instructed to keep him busy and force him to lose by the examiner. She tried cuffing him, but alas, his strength was no match to feeble iron and steel. He left her all alone to deal with what looks like an Egyptian monster. Even though she tried to get him expelled, he decided to show some leniency and came back to save her. He then broke down the walls and walked out the maze with his head held high. Before the examiner could say another word, the headmaster showed up and teleported MASH towards the interrogation room. There, he tested MASH's resolve to see if he was worthy of being a hero. After witnessing his conviction, he decided to let MASH join their academy as an honor student. He had made a friend named Finn, who started showing him around and helping him out. In the second day of class, MASH had forgotten his broom and had to borrow Finn's just to attend the lecture. While waiting for his turn, someone challenged him to a race, and he accepted. Since he was unable to use magic, as soon as the race began, MASH threw his broom and jumped on it, winning the race in a matter of milliseconds. When the guys started complaining, an arrogant student named Lloyd Cavell used his magic to sew his mouth shut and demanded a meeting with MASH the next day. When they left, Lloyd ended up beating the life out of the loser for failing his mission, while MASH was asking Finn why everyone was afraid of him. It turned out that Lloyd was the son of a high-ranking member in the Bureau of Magic, who happened to be close to the vice principal. As such, Lloyd has caused several students to be expelled by bullying them and turning the tides against them. MASH didn't care at all and didn't bother to attend the meeting since he was busy making cream puffs. This agitated Lloyd, who came after MASH in the cafeteria. He told him how he could get an audience with the vice principal for him, which should make it easier for MASH to become a divine visionary. However, he wants MASH to complete his chores and run errands for him in return. Knowing MASH, he was a meathead who does little to no thinking. He kept on serving Lloyd and kept on noticing how his books were being destroyed. It was later revealed that Finn was responsible for this under the duress of Lloyd. When MASH was walking in the corridor, he noticed Finn being abused and stepped in to save him. As a result, he knocked out both Lloyd and the vice principal to teach them a lesson. Afterward, the headmaster informed him that he'd go easy on him since he was doing the right thing and that he hates corruption and maltreatment. He then informs him to try his best to bring about a better world for everyone. The next day, MASH is seen playing Duello, which is kinda like soccer and basketball, except you're flying on brooms. Harry Potter, basically. At first, MASH kept on insisting that he couldn't fly, and his team was losing by a large margin. However, when one of the opponents violently crashed into his teammate, he jumped with his broom and started kicking air just to stay afloat. What came next was shocking. He kept on throwing the ball at a high speed with a boomerang curve and kept on scoring infinitely. The match ended with a new school record. MASH was celebrating his victory when a high-ranking student, Lance, decided to pick a fight with MASH by trapping his friends in a vessel. He demanded a duel, and they went outside to solve their differences. It seems that Lance was intimidated by MASH and wanted to prove a point. His magic graviola utilizes gravity to hold his opponents down and crush them under its weight. However, he chose the wrong person to mess with. MASH doesn't utilize any magic as such, spent the entirety of his life training his muscles and increasing his strength. Seeing as how Lance was backed into a corner, he threw the vessel down a cliff in hopes of throwing MASH off his game. Unfortunately for him, MASH's speed was beyond comprehension. Not only did he run down the hill to grab the vessel, but he came back in a jiffy to mess around with Lance up close. Lance was obviously no match for him and admitted defeat on the spot. Even though Lance lost, he didn't cry about it and in fact opted to help out MASH and Finn with their assignments. He took them to the kitchen and gave them some life lessons on how to improve their sorcery, even though MASH wasn't able to use magic. Later on, the students gathered outside for a mission worth a few silver coins. While they were awaiting orders, an arrogant jerk decided to pick a fight with MASH. Silver possessed 2 marks on his face and was a second year, meaning he was significantly stronger than the rest. The professor intervened and commanded them to hunt scorpions and not each other. After the competition started, we are introduced to a red hair explosion magician named Dot. Given his tremendous affection for women, he is seen protecting a dame in distress. She uses her seductive spells to butter him up even more, while MASH is completely unfazed by it. Out of nowhere, Silver shows up looking to cause chaos. He and Dot start to go at it, and it is clear that Silver's defense is more superior to Dot's explosion. After realizing the disparity in their powers, Silver made a proposal. If he could withstand 10 hits from him, he'll leave the girl alone for good. Seeing as how Dot is all about chivalry and manliness, he accepted and endured each attack. MASH stood there watching until the 10th and final hit struck. Despite wanting to get up, Dot's body gave up completely. It was then revealed that the girl was in cahoots with Silver and they had planned this out in advance. At this point, MASH wasn't going to sit back and watch. He started attacking Silver and one of his punches landed, sending Silver flying. The second punch, however, knocking him down and had him gasping for breath. Amidst their fight, a scorpion showed up and MASH swatted it away like it was a bug. He then focused his attention on the girl who pretended to cry and ended up suplexing her to the ground. Talk about a savage. Lance and the others met up with them, and he explained how the Langdorm is looking to steal everyone's coins. Mash was assigned to join the Adler Dorm, and he was the first person to receive a gold coin thus far. Winning a gold coin must have gotten to his head, because Mash broke down the door of the Langdorm and waltzed right in like it was nobody's business. He then met their leader Abel and the rest of the Magia Lupus. Abel explained to him how he was going to change the world after becoming a divine visionary, and proceeded to attack him using his magical ability, Puppeteer. Mash broke through the strings easily and discovered that the doll he attacked was actually Silver. Another one grabbed a hold of him, stole his coin, and slammed him to the wall. Mash refused to fight back and instead took Silver to the infirmary. It is later revealed that Mash switched the coins in mid-air. Quite the trick, if you ask me. Given the ongoing war, Mash, Lance, Dot, Finn, and Lemon form a team to defend the Adler Dorm. Even so, it seems that the Adler Dorm is going around destroying people already. This situation concerns Lance, and he tries to talk to Mash about it. Before they could discuss any relevant details, Lemon interrupts the conversation to inform them about their friend Todd, who was jumped. He barely remembers what happened, but for some reason, he isn't able to access his magic as he used to. And everyone else in the infirmary is facing the same problem as well. Later on, the gang encounters Lemon in the hall and discover that she's been turned into a doll. They go running after her, and Mash ends up breaking the secret underground door to catch up to her. As they step in, they are introduced to Shuan inside a large arena. It seems the Magia Lupus lured them in here to ambush them. His vine magic completely obliterates Dot's explosions and leaves him helpless as the rest of the gang got separated fighting different members. Lance ended up fighting Worth Madel, the third fang of the Magia Lupus and a double liner. Despite Lance's gravity magic being formidable, Worth's mud was no pushover either. He kept on creating clones to distract Lance and kept on launching projectiles at him. Soon enough, Lance figured out his ability and damaged him, forcing Worth to turn into a devilish monster. But fear not, Lance had a trump card in his back pocket, which he used to obliterate the monster in seconds. Mash, on the other hand, seemed to be struggling against Abyss Razor, the second fang of the Magia Lupus. His ability, Acceleraze, allows him to speed up his attacks and his movements, making him a worthy matchup against Mash's brute strength. He kept on cutting him left and right, but eventually, Mash caught up and landed a clean strike. Just when he thought he had the upper hand, Abyss created a force field, decreasing Mash's speed. However, this effect didn't last long since Mash was able to overcome it easily and bash through Abyss like a frantic madman. He ended the match with a spectacular suplex from above, leaving Abyss perplexed. Now that Abyss and Worth are out of the equation, Dot and Finn face another deadly opponent, Love Cute, the gorgeous travesty who was bestowed the fifth fang. Don't let her adorable looks and name fool you, she packs a heavy punch using her tornadoes. Dot is seen struggling and barely hanging on to dear life as her tornadoes start ripping him apart. All of a sudden, he channeled his inner monstrosity and unlocked a secret ability that gave him a cross mark on his forehead and amplified his explosions exponentially. He blasted Love with a barrage of blows, but left her standing since he had a weak spot for cuties. As soon as he dropped his guard, he was struck with a blow from Milo Genius, one who uses stone magic and is able to turn humans into statues. Scary. Just as he was about to land the fatal blow, a sword shot from behind, knocking him down. It was none other than Rain Ames, a divine visionary and an exceptional student on campus. He made quick work of Milo and started torturing him as the rest escaped. He then met up with Mash and challenged him to a duel. After going back and forth with Mash, he realized he was the special target the chairman told him to keep an eye on. So he congratulated him and bid him good luck. Leave it to Mash to waltz into the leader's chambers unannounced. After blatantly intruding inside, he met the leader of the Magia Lupus, Abel Walker, again, who kept on ranting about world order and societal change. But Mash wasn't really having it, and resorted towards good old violence to settle the dispute. Abel tried to communicate, but his words were too weak to reach Mash, who kept on rebuking his attacks. As powerful as Abel's doll magic was, his tactics weren't immune to the oldest power known to man, strength. With ultimate strength, comes overpowering speed. As such, MASH was able to outmaneuver his opponent and land a critical strike. However, Abel used this to his advantage by transforming the hero into a doll. When the fight seemed as if it reached its conclusion, MASH broke free from the imprisonment and faced Abel's final trump card, a monstrous behemoth comprised of several dolls. Even so, as if it was a serious Saitama punch, MASH destroyed the behemoth in one shot, leaving Abel vulnerable to another terrifying suplex. He then started narrating his tragic backstory to gain sympathy from MASH. It kinda worked, since MASH was a huge softie, and they made up for what happened. Afterward, Abel freed all the students from their doll incarceration and bid MASH farewell. The gang got back together and started cheering one another. Meanwhile, the visionary Rain met up with Lance and exposed his true personality. It was then that Cell revealed himself, another visionary, and quickly rushed towards MASH and the others. While they were all celebrating their victory prematurely, Cell showed up in the chambers to threaten Abel's life. He scolds him for failing the mission and prepares to punish him when MASH walks in nonchalantly holding a tray of cream puffs. He offers Cell one and accidentally smudges his face with it. Cell becomes furious and lashes out at Abel using his vine magic. However, Abyss steps in to save his master. His loyalty doesn't go unnoticed as MASH retaliates against Cell out of vengeance. Even so, Cell is far stronger than any opponent he has faced thus far and overwhelms MASH with relentless strikes. MASH keeps on blocking the incessant attacks until Abel assists him by distracting Cell, giving him time to land a punch. Frustrated by the whole situation, Cell takes out a mirror which robs people of their magic. Nevertheless, MASH attacks without hesitation. It was then that everyone realized he had no magic to begin with. Realizing his enormous potential and power, Cell retreated for the time being, and the gang promised to keep MASH's secret safe. Well, that's all for now. If you liked this Harry Potter One Punch collaboration, please leave a like and subscribe to stay updated on more exciting content. Till next time, stay true.